Oh boy. You know what? For all the fear-mongering and BS contract rumors that we have made videos about on this YouTube channel in regards to these players and in regards to this team, I feel like it is only necessary to go out there and talk about the opposite. Give the old Uno reverse card and give a little switcheroo, because when something like this gets mentioned out there on social media, this is when you start thinking about the actual possibility that things can just go right. Let's go out there and look at a post made by the Two Mutts Hockey Podcast on Twitter. Now, I unfortunately have not gone out there and actually listened to Two Mutts myself, but their hosts actually are pretty notable people in the social media hockey world. Josh Marshall and Clay. They've been in the scene, they're doing their thing, they're making their podcasts, and they went out there and tweeted this yesterday, which popped off on Oilers Twitter and got a whole bunch of Oilers fans excited. Here's the post from yesterday. Multiple sources tell us tonight that Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and Evan Bouchard are all willing to take team-friendly deals in their next contract extensions in hopes of the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup multiple times over the next 8 to 9 seasons. Taking less to win more has been talked about with these three players. It's something to keep an eye on over the next 2 to 3 weeks, as Leon Draisaitl will set the standard first. Now, I'll say this before we dive into any analysis. There are people going out there and doubting the source. Two Mutts Hockey Podcast is not like, Elliot Friedman or anything. But they do have enough of a platform where I feel like it'd be kind of stupid for people who are this popular, I guess, to make something up and spew it off as a rumor that they're hearing about. Oh, we didn't just make this up. We're hearing this. Like, I don't know. I want to believe in the good faith of people, right? So let's talk about it as if it is an actual idea circulating around there. You can believe it if you want, you can not believe it if you want. It's all up to you at the end of the day, right? Let's go out there onto the Oilers subreddit to read some of the comments in response to these thoughts here. The first comment from Thunder... Oh, I'm not going to say that. 780. Perfect. Everyone gets the Darnell Nurse 9.25 by 8 years. Very team-friendly. They wouldn't have to take team-friendly deals if not for Nurse taking the most unfriendly deal in the entire league. And yeah, that's something that I think a lot of Oilers fans will have to, as the years go on, fully accept, because they may have no control over something like that. I think most people kind of figured that back when the contract was signed it was already an overpay, but I mean, there are enough Darnell Nurse supporters and defenders, especially in the comment section of my YouTube videos, that will go out there and make as many arguments as possible as to why Darnell Nurse is actually valuable. Not saying that he's not valuable, not saying that he's not even good to have on your team sometimes, but 9-point-something mil is just too damn much. Sorry. Now, of course, it's going to be tough to say that anybody is going out there and getting any less than Darnell Nurse, Draisaitl, McDavid, and or Bouchard. None of these guys should, or none of them will, settle for anything lower than that. But the question is, if they're going to go for cheaper, more team-friendly contracts, what are those numbers? Well, if you want to get super stingy about the money per se, you want to get stingy about income, I guess it would really depend on how much externally these guys would be making, which would allow them to kind of take a little bit of a lesser amount on their NHL contracts. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl especially, since these guys, they have brand deals everywhere, they've got commercials, they've got Skip the Dishes, they've got Scotiabank, and there are so many different advertising avenues for these two guys as faces of players in the NHL to get extra dough. So if a whole bunch of extra commercials for Scotiabank or for whatever else Connor McDavid is in nowadays ends up saving the Oilers, let's say, $500,000 a year on his AAV next contract, then okay, that's a really good thing to use to your advantage. And of course, if you want to talk about just the money AAV amount itself, Connor McDavid is going to become the highest paid player in the NHL again. It is inevitable. By the time that contract is eligible to be signed, the cap would have already gone up enough to allow him to overtake Austin Matthews' 13-point-something mil. Maybe McDavid gets 14, maybe he gets 14.5. But if he does take a team-friendly deal, I'd say that he doesn't go anywhere over $15 million. Same for Leon Draisaitl, you could say. There were already some rumors popping around as to whether or not a team in free agency, like the Bruins or the Sharks, could offer Draisaitl a $14 million contract, but if he gets $14 million in Edmonton, I honestly think that it's really easy for him to just say, okay, great, like, I've been underpaid my entire career, this is me finally getting my bag. Or if he were to get something similar to, or maybe a tad less than Auston Matthews, then that would also be appropriate too. For Evan Bouchard, we have discussed the idea of him getting $10 million a year, just $1 million more than Darnell Nurse. I'd say that 10 is roughly in the range of what defensemen nowadays should be getting paid if they're able to produce as many points as he can. Quinn Hughes is making 7-something, Cale Makar is making 9, but those guys signed their contracts a little bit earlier on than when Evan Bouchard is going to sign his as well. So I don't think that it's going to be like, oh yeah, Bouchard gets the Hughes contract. He only gets 7 point something. No, he's going to get at the very least more than Darnell Nurse. And also you have to think, when it comes to Bouchard in particular, it was already discussed that him and his negotiations will be second fiddle to Leon Draisaitl. Draisaitl is, and deservedly so, going to be the main priority for Edmonton. They're not going to re-sign Bouchard first. They need to get an idea as to what Leon is going to get before they explore a Bouchard extension. And if the season goes on in 2024, 2025 without an extension at all for Bouchard, then that's totally okay. Like, we had seen the rumors pop up that they're not even going to really attempt to do something with him in the immediate short-term future. And just try to ride it out, see if he's able to build on that momentum from the playoffs and all the point production he was able to get, because if he does and he ends up succeeding and exceeding expectations, then okay, great, give him that $10 million, $10.5 million AAV contract, as long as it's not something in the $12 million range like he could have gotten if he was on the Toronto Maple Leafs, for example, then I think he should be good. All in all, though, when it comes to these three guys taking team-friendly deals, it fits with some of the other conversations we have talked about in regards to Oilers contracts. Guys like Adam Henrique, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Jeff Skinner, signing contracts with the Oilers that are debatably cheaper than what they could have gone elsewhere just because they want to stay with this Oilers team. Term also plays into it as well, but I think for Leon and Connor, it's very easy to say, yeah, just give them 8 years. Like, it's not going to be hard. Sign the deal, let him stick around. For Evan Bouchard, he's a little bit different because he's younger than those two, and he hasn't been, like, game-breaking, world-shatteringly good like Leon and Connor McDavid have been for their entire careers for too long. Like, Evan Bouchard really broke out a few years ago, and he was fantastic in the playoffs this year and last year, but he wasn't always that, which opens the door to him maybe getting a bridge deal. Maybe it's even less than Darnell Nurse if he signs for, let's say, 2 or 3 years on the dot, and he goes down that Auston Matthews path of wanting to get just segmented contracts every few years, increasing the AAV and allowing his earning potential to grow as the cap grows as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Edmonton Oilers and these three guys, how this could change everything for Edmonton and their entire cap situation. It's understandable that Leon would probably be the first guy, the first domino to fall in this situation, but in this time, as we're speculating as to what could happen and waiting for the actual decision to be made, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Oilers and their contract situation, and what do you think the dollar amounts and terms come out to be for guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.